Sunday's 5-touchdown performance against the Falcons. The 7-time champ is actually leading the league in passing touchdowns with 9 through the first 2 weeks, causing the Boston Globe to release a story with the headline, "Tom Brady is better at 44 than he was at 24, and it's amazing." Well, I'm saying that means something. Shannon, do you agree?
Well, I hope he's better at 24, considering 24 was only his second year in the league and he was not even a starter yet, Skip. But let me tell you, this is what I will say. Is Tom Brady better, or are the players he's playing with better? Because I can assure you the players that he's playing with now at 44 are better than the ones he played with at 24. The rule...
They also said 34, but go ahead.
Okay, 34.
Yeah. All right.
I can make a case that the players that he's playing with today are better than the ones he had at 34. And plus the rule change. Skip, this is why we're seeing the numbers. I'm not saying, look, there are great players in this era, but it's hard for me to see with the numbers that they're putting up that they're exponentially better than what we had in the past. Because this guy, average guys, because of the rule changes, have gotten guys making people look like Marino and Elway and some of these Montana. Skip, I just saw somebody just pass Montana on all-time pass. I'm like, come on, really? And Montana played 16 years, and these guys are already passing Montana in 8 years. So for me, Skip, I think it has a lot to do with the talent level. I can make the case that this is the most talented Tom Brady offensively has ever played with. You go back to the 2007 when he had Moss and he had Welker. As far as depth, talent offensively, they can't touch this team. And so I think that has a lot to do with Tom. Can Tom carry teams by himself like some of those years he did in New England? No, he cannot. So when you say he's getting better, you better also factor in that Mike Evans and Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin and Gronk is still there and Braden O.J. Howard has a lot to do with this. The rule change and how you can attack the receiver and attack the quarterback has something to do with this. So for me, Skip, you have to look at it. You just can't say, well, he's leading the league in touchdowns. Oh, he's better. Also, the talent level that he has, he's playing with, is better. The rule changes because you and I both know if they could attack the quarterback like they could when you were covering the game, Tom Brady is not playing at the age of 44. They would have knocked him out of the game. Okay. You know that, I know that.
I do know that, but that's not the rule right now. So here's the point for the big picture for people who don't get this. Dan Shaughnessy wrote this. He is the lead columnist at the Boston Globe.
Yes.
It is the voice of New England sports. And he says in the lead of his column, Bill Belichick was wrong, Bob Kraft was wrong, I certainly was wrong, said Dan Shaughnessy, because he wrote off Brady also at the end in New England. Thought it was time.
Well, they drove him off with all that browbeating and all that, the practice, Skip, the Patriot way all the time. That drove him off.
Okay, I got it. But he's saying that in his 22nd season, he's better than he was at 24 or 34, in his 20s or 30s. And he's calling him Benjamin Button Brady, and he's calling him the Brady Monster, and he's saying it must kill Belichick and Kraft to watch this. And I believe that. I think it kills them because they obviously could have signed him for X more years, and this wouldn't be happening because the cupboard was getting bare thanks to Bill Belichick. Right.
But see, Skip, that's my thing. At least you will acknowledge that. In this article, he's not acknowledging that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown, and even though Gronk was not what he was, Skip, because there are some years now, in 2011, Skip, if I'm not mistaken, Brady threw for 5,200 yards. People forget that Brady has a 5,000-yard season under his belt. He threw for 5,200. If I'm not mistaken, in 2010, he won the MVP.
More than 07.
Right.
Yes.
So when you look at it, 07 is the spectacular year, Skip, because he and Moss had something that we hadn't ever seen before.
Okay.
The 50 touchdowns, the 4,800 yards, the undefeated season. But when you look at the record, now, Skip, for me, if Brady could do what he could do in 2007 now, with the talent, he legitimately throw for 6,000 yards. He would legitimately throw for 60-plus touchdowns.
Okay. Here's where you and I go sideways.
Okay.
Eye test. My eye test was even telling me in his last year in New England that he was still throwing the ball with the same velocity as ever because he never had a cannon to start with. He was just deadly accurate with a slightly above average arm. You thought his arm talent was in decline as he went to Tampa. And I said, no, it's the same. And then he goes into no risk it, no biscuit offense, and it's bombs away. And last year he led the league in air distance. How far do you try to complete a pass? And it showed you he still has the distance and the mid-range velocity when necessary. Well, he's obviously operating at the highest mental level anyone's ever operated, because he's 44 years of age and he's been doing this for so long, and his pilot light remains lit because he is obsessed with watching tape and getting better.
So let me ask you a question. When you watched him in his last season in New England, why wasn't he putting up numbers like this?
Because he had receivers who could not separate. They were dead last in what they call separation.
Thank you. So
we got to see him on the bench during one game against the Texans yelling down the bench, you got to separate. Somebody's got to actually get open, right?
Thank you. So is he playing better, or has the talent better gotten around him and elevated his play? Because if you say he's the same. You said he looked exactly the same. So if he looked exactly the same, he should have been doing in New England the last year what he's doing currently. But he wasn't.
Well, you have to have somebody to throw to.
That's all, Skip. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
And I didn't think they protected him very well last year, and now he's got a top 5 offensive line.
But again, when they talk about Brady, they make it about just Brady, and not everything that around the offensive line is better than what he had his last year. The talent, I don't believe Brady has ever played with this level of offensive talent in his career in New England.
I'll buy that.
No one player is better than Randy Moss that he's currently playing with. I would give you that.
I also think he's better than ever. That's just that's my eye test.
And Gronk, Gronk is not the same Gronk that he was back then, Skip, but he's still. You still got to respect it.
Well, what's LeBron and Carmelo say? We can now beat you with our heads.